how about we get people who are wealthy and big companies to pay more without taxes and give better service for the working poor middle class?
One of the big questions in this country right now is the idea of, I'd say, taxes, and what are some of the alternatives?
We have lots of bridges and tunnels in New York City. So I said, why don't we lease the naming rights to all of our bridges in New York City? I'm talking about a bridge that gets mentioned hundreds of times on the radio stations and TV when it comes to traffic reports in a 16 million metro person area.
This idea of lessening the size of the government in order to strengthen community and also people having the ability to take care of themselves more.
Our goal has to always be to create more community opportunities, to create an environment where you have extra competition for the government. So the goal always is to break the monopoly of government.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. One of the big questions in this country right now is the idea of, I'd say, taxes and the legality of some of our tax systems, and what are some of the alternatives? And here to talk to us about this is Larry Sharpe. He was a Libertarian candidate, now considering some other stuff, but great expert on some of this stuff. And Larry, real pleasure having you on Crossroads.
I am happy to be here. Thank you so much. Yes, taxes. The problem when people talk about taxes, they always assume that when you want to lower taxes, it means you want to hurt the poor and help the rich. Right? That's always the assumption they make. And it feels bad.
Don't you want to build roads and build schools?
100%,
how dare you? Yeah.
How bad are you? So I decided, you know what? How about we do both? How about we get people who are wealthy and big companies to pay more without taxes and give better service for the working poor middle class? I'm from New York City. We have lots of bridges and tunnels in New York City. So I said, why don't we lease the naming rights to all of our bridges in New York City? Right? So instead of it being the Triborough Bridge or the RFK Bridge, instead, it's the 3M Bridge or the Kellogg's Bridge or the Colgate-Palmolive Bridge or whatever the case may be, or the Pepsi Bridge. I'm fine with whatever it is. The Google Bridge, doesn't matter. Why would they do that? Well, I want $100 million for a bridge like that. They would say, wait a minute, that's a lot of money. It is. They dropped $20 million for a stadium that they use on the weekends. I'm talking about a bridge that gets mentioned hundreds of times on the radio stations and TV when it comes to traffic reports in a 16 million metro person area. You tell me that's not worth $100 million? Of course it is. How do I know that? Bankers talked to me about it when I was running for governor. Hey, how long's the lease? What are we doing? How does this work? And I was like, yes, you lease the naming rights so the state or the city still owns the property. I'm a business guy. I'm not giving my property up, right? So I'm going to lease the naming rights out. And on top of that, they have to take care of the maintenance. So they take care of the maintenance because we still inspect it. Right now in New York City, bridges still fall down. I'm sorry, in New York State, not New York City. New York State bridges still collapse. They won't this way because if the bridge goes below a level B down to a C, they lose the contract. Next contract. If you front load the contract, we still get paid up front no matter what. So that's how you front load the contract. It keeps it to where now we get better bridges. The big companies are paying. You might say, Larry, they're going to pay $100 million? These are companies that drop billions of dollars every year in marketing. Billions with a B. $100 million is chump change for them. So we're not going to have a raise in pricing. They're happy to do it. And even better, there's millions of people who cross those bridges. They get to see it. And every piece of, Netflix or Hulu or whatever is the cool movie of the day, they always show the skyline, New York City skyline. They get product placement. Life is good for something like that. And here's the best part. No tolls. Right now, if you cross a bridge in New York City, anywhere from $13 to $18 to cross one bridge. And if you are an owner-operator trucker, oh my God, you're paying per axle. You're dropping $150 to cross a bridge or whatever that is for your axles. You're paying tons of cash to cross the bridge both ways, go back and forth. We end that. The working poor and the middle class are the ones who use the bridges. The wealthy people in New York City already live in Manhattan. They're not crossing bridges. This is a way of getting the people who have more money to pay voluntarily, to lower the tax burden on the average person, and to make life easier for the working poor and the middle class. And we don't have to raise taxes. But I'm not done. You're saying, Larry, wait a minute, you done?
All right, what else you got?
I'm not done. The MTA itself, the actual subway system. At night, the trains only run every other train. So let's change that. Every other train now is a freight train. We can bring freight into the city. You bring freight into the city, less trucks coming into the city, which means less wear and tear on our roads, right? But not just that. Now you have the trains coming in, and who has to build those new trains out? I don't know, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, Google, insert company here. We give them naming rights on the stations. They rebuild the infrastructure, lowers the prices, we get a brand new infrastructure, and now we're getting more stuff into the city cheaper and faster.
Well, it's interesting because this is how things happened originally when it came to like the transcontinental railroad and private companies. It used to be the case in America that it was actually private businesses and private enterprise that built a lot of the stuff. The early ferries and stuff like that. That was huge business.
Absolutely.
It was super lucrative business, actually. And businesses competed to get that business because it was so lucrative.
Absolutely. Well, the glory of this is, what people always say is, Larry, you can't do that because then the company will make a bad agreement with the state or city, and then they'll renege on the agreement. That does happen. But if it's not a monopoly, meaning anyone can have it if they outbid, if whatever, Google or 3M is a bad actor, then someone else gets the contract. Done deal.
And that means, too, that if, for example, let's say that, it's $100 million, something like that, if there's demand for it, they're going to buy it. And if there's competition for that demand, even more so.
Absolutely, right? And let's say it's better, it's 110. Let's say I'm wrong, it's only 80 million. Okay, maybe the market only wants 80 million for the bridge. Fine, I got a dozen bridges and tunnels in my city. All of a sudden now I'm paying for my MTA. Now guess what? If I want to have a lower, right now it's about $2.25 to ride a subway. That's basically $5 a day. What if I could lower it to $3 a day? The wealthy aren't using the subway. It's the working poor and middle class use the subway. Do I actually want to help my working poor and middle class? Yes, I do. And I'm a libertarian. Isn't that crazy? We can actually make ways of making it work without having to raise taxes.
Well, folks, 2 months on now, and we are still totally demonetized by YouTube. But given the situation where we have to censor ourselves if we want to really stay on this platform and make it work, we've decided on something else, which is this. We've launched a new platform called Epoch TV, EPOCHTV.com. And through this, we're able to publish uncensored content. News that can criticize anything we'd like, news that can talk about anything we'd like, news that can give you real information from any part of the world about any topic without having to worry whether individuals will censor it. And in this current environment where information is being controlled, where narratives are being controlled, and where anyone who steps outside the boundaries of what is the accepted narrative by the fact checkers, quote unquote, by different big tech organizations, by media organizations, and so on. This is something that we believe is needed for the modern political environment, where people should be able to call things out. People should be able to question things. This is the basis of the Fourth Estate in America. The belief, again, that media should be able to hold government power in check, and that media should be able to inform the public about the issues they should be informed about, because that is the basis of our election system. An informed public making informed decisions. If you control this system of information, you control the political system. And folks, being a media organization, we can't stand for that. And so again, we have created an uncensored platform, Epoch TV. And anyone who wants to support Crossroads or support our broader mission of bringing real news, uncensored news, that's not afraid to stand up for what matters, please check out our website, epochtv.com, EPOCHTV.com. Check out the link below. And folks, please support us there.